Welcome to another issue of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. I hope each and every one of you are doing well today. It's been a little while since I been here live streaming. Had a lot of shit going on in my day-to-day life and all of that. So I'm back. I am back. And I had a different show. Well, mostly still the same subject matter for this show. However, I had to tweak it up a little bit because there was a lot of added things that I needed to put on the show because they're all kind of relevant and all of that. So if I'm appearing a little bit more all over the place than usual, that would be wise. Just sort of something in the last minute that just needed to be addressed. So we have a few people here online, so feel free to say something here. Hello and greetings on the chat line, and I'm glad all of y'all are here. By the way, so anyway, I guess we'll get started. We'll get started. And it's on Briahna Joy Gray. Been doing a lot of Briahna Joy Gray lately. She tends to generate a lot of controversy. And the thing about it is that, she generates controversy, frankly, that's unfair. And maybe I can think of one area where there's some criticism that might be warranted tonight with regard to her. And we'll get to that in a moment. But getting back to what I was saying, we know what happened with Briahna Joy Gray lately. She got fired from the Hill. I mean, that's been, that's been past news. It's pretty much old news at this point. And we know what happened to her. She got cancel cultured by Nexstar that owns the Hill, and some of her statements on Israel was a bridge too far. And that is basically an area that is not to be a line not to be crossed, or a bridge too far in the political discourse. Even mild criticisms of Israel can get you canceled, unfortunately. And nobody understands nuances when it comes to that issue. Nobody can have an adult conversation on that issue. And it is really a shame that people can't be adults on this issue, and other issues are kind of volatile and everything. But notice how it goes in America. You can't criticize Israel, because if you do, you're anti-Semitic, supposedly. You can't criticize individual acts of extremism and violence when it takes place by maybe an organization or a lone wolf individual that does it on behalf of Islam. Then if you do that, you're Islamophobic. But it's okay to criticize Russia all day long and vilify them and tell everybody how evil they are. I mean, while the U.S. continues to prop up the Ukraine, which has a lot of bad people in their government and in their military, referring to people affiliated with the Azov Battalion. And we know their history, and we know how some aspects of the Ukrainian culture feels about people like Stefan Bandera, who is their George Washington in many ways in modern times. And if you mention that, you get dismissed, and they still call you the worst of whatever they want to project at you. But they're projecting a lot of things in Briahna Joy Gray, which is frankly not fair. And so it goes. Now, I'm no fan of Candace Owens. She got fired from the Daily Wire. What's really so ironic about this whole thing when it comes to Candace Owens and comes to Ben Shapiro is this whole notion that the conservatives are supposed to be the ones in the last decade, that they're supposed to be so alpha, regardless of what gender they are. And they're supposed to be the ones who are about facts over feelings, and the ones who are for the free speech of ideas that are not popular, except when it's ideas that offends them. And then all of a sudden, they turn into the 19-year-old wimpy, soy adjacent, overly triggered, little anorexic, 19-year-old purple hair dumbass in college. And they're not a dumbass because they're a dumbass. They're a dumbass because they're, a bit immature because they're young. And they're young conservatives who are dumbasses too because they're young. Not trying to be ageist, but, people develop and mature as they get older, regardless of what their ideology is. But for some reason, they reserve it for the left. Ben Shapiro basically is that dumbass 19-year-old self-righteous prick who is right-wing and thinks he knows everything and just sits there and vomit 1993 Rush Limbaugh talking points all day long. And because he knows how to make himself sound like Alex Keaton from the TV show Family Ties, but do it in a millennial style way, everybody thinks, oh, he's so intelligent. He really knows how to own those libs. Talking 100 miles an hour does not make you own libs, lefties, or whatever the fuck. Not at all. I see a lot of holes in his argument, a lot of inconsistencies that I've seen over the years. And he is a massive hypocrite, especially since October 7th. His true colors are showed. Hamas, with the Hamas attacks that took place on October 7th. I mean, he all of a sudden turned into a neocon version of Antifa. All of a sudden, he wants to silence his opposition and think that they are representatives of the worst of everything he projects on the other side. As a big head honcho of the Daily Wire, he got triggered by one of his own, and that is Candace Owens, prominent black conservative, who another inconsistency. I wanted to mention this too. She got kind of let go. I'm not sure if she was fired, asked to resign, or she left on her own accord. Don't care. What she parted ways with the Daily Wire. And it was over Israel. Now, by theory, I heard people say she's an anti-Semite. Saying Christ the King is not anti-Semitic. It is not. She's converting to Catholicism. I understand. And coming, coming from that perspective, I'm not going to sit there. If somebody's Christian and that's their thing, that is their thing. And I don't think the saying Christ the King, in itself is a sign of anti-Semitism. But she talks about America first. She's got into the whole. She's more into the Trump brand of conservatism than Ben Shapiro is. Ben Shapiro is an old. He's more along the lines of George W. Bush, Dick Cheney style neoconservatism. My assumption in 2016, that he was a Ted Cruz supporter that did not vote for Trump in 2016, either sat down in that election or voted for an independent third-party candidate that was more to his liking. I think that some others did the same thing, like Glenn Beck, if Mark Levin voted for Trump, I know he did it reluctantly. He was also never Trumper. That, the people who kind of represents that Rush Limbaugh 1990s worldview that is, still stinking around in the Republican Party. That's not gone away. She's gone a different route. And somebody said, well, she's anti-Semitic. No, I think she's gone down the Tucker Carlson, Pat Buchanan camp of paleoconservatism. Pat Buchanan, Tucker Carlson, are white nationalists. I don't know if they're white nationalists. I just think they're paleoconservatives. There's a fine line between being I think the paleoconservatives are just people Americans who are conservative, who wants to mind their own damn business. And they may be a little bit more fuddy-duddy than the average conservative. But in some cases, some of the neoconservatives are to the right of paleoconservatives. So I don't know what the hell that would mean. Rush Limbaugh, when he was alive, was to the right of Tucker Carlson these days. I mean, I don't think Tucker Carlson has a problem with gay people. Well, now I don't know that Candace Owens do. But that's kind of the new trend with some of the MAGA movement. A lot of them are anti-war. A lot of them are, for different kinds of reasons. Some, they just old-fashioned isolationists, and some are just, it's a libertarian bent of non-interventionism by principle. And with some, in some limited cases, there may be a little bit of a darker ideological variation to it that can lead to something, horrible like the alt-right. I mean, it might be a pipeline, but it's a pipeline that has some stops to it. That is my view, my interpretation of it. And I think that's where she's at, Candace Owens. And I'll talk about Briahna Joy Gray in a minute. I need to mention this before we get into this whole topic, because it is important. Ben Shapiro didn't like that, and so she's carved a lane for herself, and she's going to do fine. Still don't agree with her, but I agree with her in the sense that what's going on in Rafah, what's going on in Gaza is terrible. It doesn't mean she's anti-Semitic. It means it's terrible what's going on. You have people who are nominal supporters of Israel that don't like what's going on in Gaza and Rafah, and they're being tarnished too. So I mean, they're being tarnished because there is a rule in American politics when it comes to foreign policy, is that you never criticize Israel when under any circumstances. But this is probably the most extreme situation since the founding of Israel that you can't really debate in a nuanced way, because we're in an age of social media. You can't sit there and just write it off because it's right there in front of you. There was a time people could lie about it from either perspective, by the way. But this can't be disputed. I mean, 1,200 Israelis dying is 1,200 too many. But 30,000 going on to 40,000 people with about 13,000 children. Some of them are babies. Some of the pro-life evangelicals in this country talking about baby killing, but are okay with ripped limbs of little babies over there. That's fucking cruel. I don't want to ever hear any of them, especially when they're pro-war, talk to me about pro-life. Oh, if I run across one of them that they are like anti-death penalty, anti-torture, poverty, and they want to do something for the poor and all of that. And I run across those types. I'll be okay. I mean, there may be some disagreements on reproductive rights on a philosophical level, but I see where you're coming from. But if you're just a right winger that just want to be just an asshole and be anti poor people and praise every war that comes along and use the scripture to justify hatred of LGBTQ and use the scripture to justify tax cuts for the wealthy and use the scripture to justify invasion of Iran and Iraq and all that was going on during the Bush years, because you had a lot of 700 Club Republican types that were doing that. I got criticism from the Democrats saying this, so hold tight. And you talk about baby killing. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And even from a Western-centric standpoint, what Israel has done is barbaric and cruel and goes against anything that's even pro-Western, if you want to talk about from a pro-Western standpoint. And I make no apologies for that. So Candace Owens is a stop clock, given the right time twice a day. And she's not anti-Semitic for criticizing Israel. Now, if you want to get on her case about being friends with Kanye West, who has definitely made terrible remarks, again, she's not Kanye West, but, I don't have time for Kanye West. And in Kanye's West case, I do think that he is what people claim he is. He's so nutty that even Alex Jones was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Imagine being that nutty. But they apply that label to Briahna Joy Gray. Briahna Joy Gray is not an anti-Semite. And she's not anti-white. She's not like this, a millennial or Generation Z, what people project as like obnoxiously woke. And there's nothing wrong with being socially progressive and all of this. I've often said, if you want to call me a social justice warrior, if you want to call me woke, and you want to add the fact that if I'm woke or a social justice warrior that happens to favor free speech absolutism and oppose cancel culture, I will accept that. But if you lump me in as an authoritarian freak, I will take issue with you. So that's where I stand on that. But she's not any of these things. From the first time I've heard of her, going back to late 2019, during the Bernie Sanders campaign, and the second time he ran, keeping up with her, as I said, I've been impressed with her, but she's been treated very badly by a lot of folks who are actually kind of adjacent to her ideology. And there's like all kinds of reasons and all that. I mean, I've heard a lot of horrible comments being made about her. And I've heard insults, like recently, the DEI Barbie, which is definitely a racist to say. And I don't believe in sitting there and calling somebody racist for having a policy disagreement. But if you're using dog whistles and you're too cowardly to go and to insult somebody, and you use something in disguise like DEI Barbie, we know what you mean by DEI Barbie, and that is an insult to her. She's not what people project as an affirmative action token person. She is a bright attorney, got her degree at Harvard. You listen to her. She is one of the best that there is out there. And she got to be where she's at, just being Briahna Joy Gray, strictly merit-based. I know I sound like I'm simping, but no, I mean, I have some criticisms of Briahna Joy Gray. I promise you, it's coming up. But I have pretty much a positive opinion of Briahna Joy Gray. And, you know, as I said, I have noticed the attacks on her has been unreasonable. Fat ass Shank Ugert has been pretty horrible on her. Vaush has been horrible on her. You know, I've heard Nomiki Kant's been harsh on her. I mean, it's just been coming across. Sam Cedar can be passively, aggressively harsh on her. Same thing with Anna Kasparian. I've heard a lot of people just go after her. What's the name of that kid? I think he lives in Florida. Xander Hall. I mean, I've heard quite a few people go after her in such a negative way. I've heard insults like not just DEI Barbie. I've heard other insults like Bernie Sanders, Diamond and Silk. That's definitely racist. I mean, you know, it's just like you can't go and criticize her on her policies, her ideology. You have to go and do that kind of racial troping and all of that. That's low. Very low. So Candace Owens reached out to Briahna Joy Gray, and she asked her if she could come on the show. And, you know, as I said, there were people out there that were upset about this. An example would be, well, on Twitter, for example, I'm just waiting for him to I don't know if it's a he, whoever this person is on Twitter, called Post Left Watch. All Post Left Watch seems to like to do is to, oh, I'm so sorry, I did the wrong thing. I keep doing that. What Post Left Watch likes to do is to go and shit on what I consider the real left. Well, and I'm not saying that the people, I'm not saying that the people that I disagree with on the left are not real leftists, but it seems like maybe what you would call my subsection of the left that I guess I do identify with gets attacked by this Post Left Watch Twitter profile. I mean, for example, a Post Left Watch would sit there and he'll criticize. I mean, he has something to say about Glenn Greenwald quite a bit, or Jimmy Dore, or Max Blumenthal, or Aaron Matei from the Gray Zone. Occasionally he goes after Crystal Ball or Katie Halper. And even though I don't really identify with the Young Turks anymore, he finds time to even attack them, strangely enough. And Jimmy Dore's his favorite punching bag. He loves to punch at Jimmy Dore, probably more than anything else. And everybody I just mentioned, I have my disagreements with Jimmy Dore and Aaron Matei and Max Blumenthal and Shank Ugert and Anna Kasparian and all of those folks that he mentioned, that I've just mentioned, Glenn Green, all of them. I don't agree with everybody. I'm going to make this clear. I don't agree with everybody 100%. I don't expect people to 100% agree with me. But, the problem with our society and unfortunately, it's like the left gets this criticism, but it applies to the right too. That you have to be with me 100%. And if you agree with me 80 or 90% of the time, but there's a hard 10, 15 or 20% that you can't see eye to eye on with me, then fuck off. That's ridiculous. My worldview is I will work with somebody in areas that I agree with. And if I disagree with somebody, that's fine. I would disagree. And I better really get to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about tonight. So let me go ahead and get started. I don't want people to lose interest in my, just being, just running my mouth and all that. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, we'll start with this. I saw the video with Candace Owens and Briahna Joy Gray, and I was going to strictly focus on that. And it still kind of will focus on that right now. However, Vaush decided to put in his 2 cents. So, and I saw that. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and watch this, and I'll give you my interpretation and take on Candace Owens and Briahna Joy Gray, but I'll also give you my take on Vaush Limbaugh. Give me a second. Okay.
No. Oh. I did see this, though. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. Briahna Joy Gray got fired from The Hill for, I don't know, presumably some kind of Hitlerite shit. I have no idea. And went on Candace Owens' 5th episode. I knew BJG was cooked, but I didn't realize it was like get fired, go on Nazi podcast. And again, to be clear, Candace Owens has been objectively Nazi posting, like full on.
We went over that just now a few minutes ago, Vaush. I have my issues and disagreement with Candace Owens. Oh, don't I have a lot of disagreements with Candace Owens? But being a conservative is not the same as being a Nazi. You want to make that clear.
Blood libel, like JQ broader stuff on Twitter. Like it's not, she's gone off the deep end. Well, she's just grifting to the audience, Again, she has no real principles. Presumably BJG doesn't either, but I already knew that. Another person fired for criticizing Israel. Look at the top comment. If they're black, it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and we should never speak about it. The top comment response. Is Briahna Wu the cool one, or is she cringe too? Briahna Wu is honestly probably right there with Briahna Joy Gray in terms of Hitler particles in general.
Okay, she's not the same as Briahna Joy Gray, but when it comes to Briahna Wu, fuck Briahna Wu, okay? We'll agree on that, Vaush.
Grifty distaste, right? I gotta say. They're standing in line. Like they're shoulder to shoulder. Demonic.
In America should be able to criticize the actions of foreign governments without having their entire livelihoods risked. This is not normal. And yet there are so many people who know, like I know and like you know.
She's also retweeted Jake Shields after this and got positive engagement from Fuentes. Who? Candace Owens or Briahna Joy Gray? Like, because I wouldn't be surprised if it was Briahna Joy Gray. Briahna Joy Gray retweeted Jake Shields, retweeting Michael Tracy. Michael. Kim Iverson, also Hitlerite. I don't see Jake Shields.
Kim Iverson has some views, again, that I disagree with. But Kim Iverson is not a Nazi. Come on, Vaush. Really? I mean, I understand why you might not like Kim Iverson. I can understand she can be an acquired taste as ideology goes. And I understand Kim Iverson in the sense that I live in the South. She was raised in Idaho. She was raised in a very conservative environment. And I think that in her leftism, her progressivism, that maybe not conservatism, but maybe some libertarian sensibility has actually, affects her worldview. And I totally understand it. I get it because I have heavy libertarian impulses. I have been called a closeted libertarian, believe it or not, by some people. And I promise you, when it comes to economics, I promise you, I am not a libertarian. I mean, I am, when it comes to economics, I am as pretty heavy status as one can be. I believe not just in single payer health care and expanding a few unions around, whoop, we're socialists now. I actually believe it's going to take much more than that. It's going to take nationalizing large sections of the energy industry and I would take Amazon, for example, and make it part of the U.S. Postal Service. I mean, these large entities that are in private hands causing harm, I will make them public for the public good. And I would do it democratically, of course. I don't believe in doing it by force, but it would be done democratically. It has to be. But Kim Iverson is not neo-Nazi adjacent. Stop it.
Though Kim Iverson is also extremely Hitler-esque.
No, she's not.
Whatever. Might be further down, though. Bitches on Twitter quite a bit. She keeps fun company. Yeah. A lot of Squirrel Girl, too. Speed running, leaving the left. I really don't think that the left broadly has a massive problem with anti-Semitism in the context of like the broader environment in which politics takes place in. I do think, however, that there is a very specific kind of like leftist who genuinely does not give a shit if anti-Israel criticism comes from a place of anti-Semitism, and they get a suspicious amount of traction sometimes. Kim Iverson.
Vaush, when it comes to Israel, we're on the same page. We're critical of Israel. That's not an issue. But don't do what the right likes to do, where you're trying to make it so that there are, as if there is a large sector of the left who have a quote unquote problem with Jews. That's not a thing on the left. It's not a thing on the left. I'm not going to say that there's no such a thing as an anti-Semite on the left, but it's criticism of Israel can give you that impression sometimes, depending who you talk to. But it's not because they're mad at Jews, it's because they're mad at the injustice that took place against the Palestinians. An injustice that's worth getting angry over. It's justified to be angry over it. And I mean, I would never stand side to side, shoulder to shoulder with an if there's a Nazi that's on the side of the Palestinian cause, I would not want to serve with that person. They're not an ally. But here's the thing. You're sitting there being a useful idiot to the Fox News crowd. They love to hear stuff like this because they want to hear that the left is anti-Semitic and it's not a right-wing thing. So it's a kind of a sneaky way to saying, well, not you, but it kind of bolstered the argument on the right that, well, Hitler was a Nazi. I mean, a socialist. Hitler was a leftist. When the Social Democrats and the communists were in the death camps being exterminated along with the Jews, the homosexuals, the gypsies, the Jehovah Witnesses, the Soviets were in the camps. You had all kinds of people, the mentally, physically disabled, gypsies, I think Masons were there too. So, just more than one victim group. But you're basically giving legitimacy to a point of view by the right that I like to see them shut the fuck up about because they're wrong. You don't fully realize that, though.
Iverson recently did Nazi war crime denouncement. No, Kim Iverson has said Nazi shit. I don't know if she's a Nazi because I don't think these people believe anything, but yeah. No, it does. Vaush. We also what the DSA did with Russia and how many praised the Hamas attack on October 7th. I don't think praising Hamas's attack necessarily stems from a place of anti-Semitism.
That if you are in media, you've got to be careful talking about Israel. Why is that?
Yeah, it really is the one true red line. And I think you experienced that as being part of a media organization that I think rightly really prioritized and focused on various threats to free speech in various different contexts and across the political spectrum. But it really does feel like free speech, except for when it comes to Israel, progressive, except for when it comes to Palestine.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Briahna Joy Gray and Candace Owens both were correct about that. When it comes to free speech, a lot of people who claim to be for free speech forgot what free speech is in regard to people who have criticisms of Israel, large or small, and they're getting triggered and they want people punished who criticizes Israel. And so, I remember Max Blumenthal saying once the problem with Zionism, and Max Blumenthal is Jewish, by the way. So nobody throw the anti-Semitic label, and I know somebody will try to say, well, he's self-loathing. They'll do anything they can to discredit the other side. So I'm not even going to pay attention to that argument. But considering that he's trying to save all kinds of lives, perhaps even Jewish lives in the Ukraine right now from the kind of people who are in the government of the Ukraine. Talking about Azov Battalion. And by the way, Tim Pool, who I'm not a fan of, is on the kill list. They added him to the kill list. I'm going to have to do a video on that, a little thing on the side there. But anyway, Max Blumenthal said, the problem with Zionism is that, it affects things like free speech can be affected by it. And I have noticed that. I have. It's like that, even Alan Dershowitz, who at one time was a progressive, one time was a left-leaning person. I know it sounds hard to believe. 25, 30 years ago, he was kind of a left-leaning person. He, since 9/11, has been taking a sharper and sharper turn to the right on just about everything. I'm not surprised. Well, I'm like, for example, he became a fan of enhanced interrogation. He claims that he was against the Iraq War, but he got around it saying, well, he was 49% for it, 51% against it, which is a cop-out way of saying he was for it. He's for the hawkish action against Iran. And, he seems to have no problems with going after critics of Israel and all of that. So, but he has enough socially progressive issues that he still embraces, that he pink washes it. And some things about Israel that he pink washed, may be true, but doesn't alter the fact that a war crime is a war crime. Okay, is it worse for LGBTQ people in Palestine, in Gaza than it is in Israel itself? Probably yes. No, yes, there is. But is it great for Israel itself? Is it great to be LGBTQ in Israel? It's not what people think it is. They do not have a right to get married in Israel. The clergy, the theocracy class in Israel controls a lot of things that goes on in the country. So a same-sex couple can get married in Israel. A Christian and somebody who's Christian and Jewish, they can't get married in Israel. So there's some religious discrimination going on right now. Yeah, it won't get you the death penalty. You might get that. You might not get turned away from someplace. Which is fine. And if you're in Tel Aviv, you might be able to have that pride parade. But it's still not great and wonderful and all of that. They have a long ways to go. They're behind the rest of the Western world, much of the Western world, when it comes to that question. So the pink washing being done by Alan Dershowitz is a weak point. Okay, universal health care, okay, that's a fair point. But what good is it to have universal health care if Palestinians can't have access to it? That's a problem. On paper, they don't have a death penalty, But what the fuck are they doing in Gaza? What the fuck are they doing in Rafah? They're committing executions. And I do think war is the death penalty on a global scale or international scale. But since it's occupied territory, it's not international, it's domestic. And so they're actually committing mass executions. And I better be careful with my words because, I get my, words can get my channel in trouble.
On June 4th, 2024, Yarden Gonen, the sister of Israeli hostage Romi Gonen, was interviewed on Gray's Rising show. By the end of the discussion, the woman said, "I really hope that you, Briahna Joy Gray specifically, will believe women when they say they have been." Gray's side rolled her eyes and interrupted Gonen, ending the segment. Gray's reactions were met with backlash as she was viewed and dismissed towards the families of the hostages. Gray was fired from Rising the following day, to which Gray claimed the Hill has a clear pattern of suppressing speech, particularly when it's critical of the state of Israel. This is why they fired Katie Halps. It was only a matter of time before they fired me. Katie Halper, why did she get fired? Katie Halper.
She got fired because she was critical of Israel too.
Was also a moron. Really? Halper and Matt Taibbi launched and have co-hosted the podcast Useful Idiots, distributed by Rolling Stone. They've had interviews with Tulsi Gabbard, Rokana, Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, Michael Morton, Robinson Greenwald, Norman Finkelstein, Aaron Mate, Dennis Kucinich, John Chomsky, Adam McKay, Loki's Mishuda Tlaib, and Roger Waters. Quite a lineup, released by Rolling Stone. And then they would be moving to Substack. Taibbi announced a sabbatical leave to write a book, and Aaron Mate would fill in for him. Yeah, not really surprising. Kucinich? Gotcha.
I mean, there is this Palestine-sized hole or exception in a lot of people's principled stance against various issues. And I say progressive except for Palestine, because there are similarly people on the left who say that they care about various groups, who say that they are anti-war, but who very similarly will look the other way or frankly become very oppositional when suddenly the people that we're talking about who are being
Israeli life. And as soon as I was saying this is equal to me, suddenly all of these attacks started. And I really did feel like what was happening after October 7th.
Oh, there we go. There's her retweeting Jake Shields. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Jake Shields is not like a quiet Nazi,
Is very reminiscent to me of what was happening.
Vaush, I bet you're one of those pink pussy hat wearing morons that are probably cool with George W. Bush because, he doesn't like Orange Man either. And I can guarantee you, there's a million Iraqis that are not alive today, and 250,000 Afghanistanian people who are not alive today because of George W. Bush. And it's not just Afghanistan and Iraq. Because of what they did in Afghanistan and Iraq, you had Barack Obama, you had Donald Trump, and you had Joe Biden doing goofy shit continuously in the Middle East. So it's probably more than the number I mentioned. Now, all of those presidents, they're just as guilty. But it was George W. Bush and Dick Cheney that got that shit started. I'm not saying that there wasn't anything, that everything was all well before, but they do bear a big brunt of the responsibility for what's happened in our modern times.
After 9/11 and growing up in 9/11, and I look back on that time because I realized that there was this sort of media insistence. We didn't have social media, we didn't have other perspectives being given to us. There really was no sense of independent media. But I look back on that and I realized I was almost brainwashed to believe that Muslim life had no worth. Thinking about how scared I was every time I saw a Muslim, and wherever I was, whether it was an airport, anywhere. And we're obviously concerned. They grew up in Israel. Their family grew up in Israel as Jews.
This is actually incredibly boring. I am taking off my a black woman is speaking, shut up and listen t-shirt. Voltaire, if you want to know who controls you, look at who you're not allowed to criticize. And of course, this was not from Voltaire, but actually a Nazi who was convicted for being a pet. And they were talking about Jews. Free USA from AIPAC. Why is DNA testing illegal in the state of Israel? I don't even know if that's true or what dog whistle this is. Can't criticize Israel. Free America from AIPAC. I mean, this is the whole point of dog whistles. It's not true, not a shocker. They lie just saying, oh, well, yeah, of course, right. The DNA one is the Khazar shit. Yeah, I'm familiar with some of the, here. Yeah, let me see the behavior that got Briahna. Don't, just because I full screen doesn't mean I want the video to play. Come on, YouTube, come on.
That you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right, thanks for joining. Stick around, more Rising coming up next.
That was a pretty minimal gesture at the end there. I think that
I agree. That was minimal. the eye rolling. And again, the eye rolling, they have done that to Briahna Joy Gray several times about her eye rolling and making an issue out of it because they want to go and criticize her. So anyway.
There are one of two possibilities. Either the people at the Hill really wanted to get rid of Briahna Joy Gray. There probably is some reason for that because the Hill does occasionally pretend to be a legitimate like organization, and Briahna Joy Gray is kind of a lunatic. Or it could have been like they really are that hypersensitive to criticism of Israel. But if that's the case, like there are other people on the Hill who have been critical of Israel. So yeah, I don't know. Straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, to be sure. I certainly wouldn't deny the fact that the media landscape is hypercritical of people who are antagonistic towards Israel in any way, but it certainly doesn't help that Briahna Joy Gray is out there like neo-Nazis and going on their podcasts. Huh. Weirdly, because this video right here is from the New York Post, all of the comments are anti-Briahna Joy Gray. Because Briahna Joy Gray is anti-Zionist, well, probably anti-Semitic, and a black woman. They think that she's a liberal. Believe all women unless there's a chance you could debunk your delusions of what Hamas is. She should have been fired a long time ago. She's a crazy activist. How could a woman roll her eyes to a woman hostage victim who has gone through an unthinkable situation in captivity? She was fired for being rude and unprofessional. Classic thing to say when a black person does anything on television. She needs to be fired. She can go cry on The View now. See, they think she's like a liberal. I thought as a woke person, she'd be sensitive to another stuff.
Yeah, there are people out there that thinks that Briahna Joy Gray is, a basic Democrat, a liberal Democrat, and what have you, and that is ridiculous. And always, you gotta. The real left gets this problem of. Depending on who hears the message, if it's the far right, they think that you're some kind of Joe Biden riding with Biden, blue MAGA, vote blue no matter who moron. And then if a vote blue no matter who moron hears that same leftist talking, they think because they sound too contrarian, they must really be secret Republicans. And I would know that feeling because I get that all the time. I get that all the time from all sides. So, and I do have empathy for her in that regard. And again, as I said, I have some criticisms I'm going to be sharing very shortly about Briahna Joy Gray.
David Dole has a breakdown on why she got fired. Crazy how many Hitler-rights there are out there, huh? She also rolled her eyes at kidnapped Ukrainian kids. It was more pronounced. Well, yeah, she's terrible. She's a terrible person. Like one in the like broader political landscape, one of the worst consequences to the October 7th, in addition to, of course, the hastening of the genocide of the Palestinian people, has also been the fact that a whole bunch of like very far right people have been getting like lefty cred by being anti-Israel. Didn't you try to call her out about the Ukrainian kids, but she shut it down hard? I don't remember what I talked to her about because it was like at 7 a.m., hence the Southern pastor voice or whatever. The inflantation barren voice because I was too tired to hear how I was talking. But like fully half of the conversation that I had with her was her being upset that I'd said mean stuff to her on Twitter. She was like, now that I have you on, do you remember calling me a stupid bitch? I was like, no, I don't remember that. I'm sure I did. I don't remember the specific context in which I said that. Could you refresh my memory? I'm sure you could bring me back to that spot, like emotionally. It sounds like me. Like that does sound like something, I might say. So one of the comment sections had outright Nazi shit. The other had standard mega shit. The Nazi shit was in Candace Owens's podcast comment section. The standard conservative stuff was from the New York Post. Candace Owens is a Nazi, or at least says Nazi stuff. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, literally look at this. Uh-oh, I got fired. And the whole video was like, the Jewish Ben Shapiro was so Zionist that he fired me and censored my America First opinions on, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, here's the thing. Ben Shapiro is, Ben Shapiro is a jerk. He kind of worked to getting Candace Owens fired for the dot police violation, the dot crime violation of criticizing Israel. That is objectively true. Ben Shapiro being Jewish does not in itself make him a bad person, but his politics, strictly independent of his religion and ethnic cultural identity, is what makes him a bad person. His ethnic and religious identity has nothing to do with what makes him a bad person. Same thing with Candace Owens. The fact that she's African American and about to convert to Catholicism does not make that in itself doesn't make her a bad person. What makes her a bad person is her ideology and the grifting, because she's done a lot of grifting over the years. Take someone like take someone like Michael Knowles or Matt Walsh or someone like Steven Crowder. Same thing. Talking about some white guys, them being just white guys in itself don't make them a bad person. What makes them a bad person? Their damn ideology. So there is that. So we got enough of Vaush this evening. So there is that as well. And I was not ignoring. So I just wanted to go and get that out of the way. So let me go ahead and say my quick hellos here. Dr. Nick Rivera, how are you doing today? I decided to stream tonight. I'm well. I just been busy. Let's see. You want to know why Bree ghosted DD? We're going to discuss that, by the way, because she doesn't care if she would have been there. I'm going to talk about that. Actually, that's going to be my next subject. Let's see. A trained lawyer lost track of the time. Let's see. Right. We got just another spot for the professional managerial class leopard. Actually, there is some truth to that. Too many cosmos lost track of the time. Anti-Semitism doesn't exist. It exists, but the accusations are usually thrown at the wrong people. It's made up a word for a special type of racism. Racism is racism. Fair point. JW's got offed by both fascists and communists, and that's true. But with communists had more to do with just absolute hating of all religions more than anything else. I don't understand why you keep promoting Como. Let's see. So many other dummies that take that with shit takes that aren't Comos, and you choose the one. Why is it beyond me? Oh, it's newsworthy at the moment. That's pretty much it. Really, no problem. I hope you stick around, Nick. I'm going to get at. Going to start discussing Due Dissidence in a moment. Great Patine, how are you doing today? What's up, Nick? He says, "Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good." So, yeah, I noticed there's less people around on the chat lines than usual, but it's the middle of the week, and it's probably bad timing on my part as far as the streaming time. As I said, I had a lot of crap going on this past week, so there is that. Now we're going to discuss. We have to discuss an incident referring to Sunday night, June the 16th. Now, I work graveyard shifts, so I don't get a chance to watch Due Dissidence the way I would like to, as often as I would like to. And it's one of the shows I do watch on a regular basis, but sometimes I just don't get a chance to because of my work schedule. I work graveyard shift. So, and if I do watch it, I end up falling asleep, not because I'm bored, because it's in the daytime and I'm sitting there I just usually go to sleep listening to a podcast or something, and that will explain that. But Sunday night, I was on my way to the airport, and I had to pick up my parents that are visiting, and I had a flat tire and all that. Long story, but so I wasn't able to get home in time to have dinner, take them out to eat and have dinner and, kind of do my thing. And otherwise I would have I'm usually off on Sundays. I would have been able to sit back and watch Due Dissidence, but I didn't get a chance to. So that would explain why I didn't listen to Due Dissidence on Sunday night. But before I went to work Monday evening, I saw a lot of stirrings and tweets going on about Briahna Joy Gray being on Due Dissidence, and I knew she was scheduled to be on Due Dissidence, and I was kind of looking forward to it. So, but something happened, so I'll go ahead and play that, and I'll comment. Come on.
All right, we are back. I'm sorry about that, folks. And I'm sorry. I'm very embarrassed to report that Briahna just messaged us saying she lost track of time. And can we either do it at 9 o'clock or another day this week? I'm reporting that. So I don't know if she will sign on. I just have to change the thumbnail. I'm assuming, I don't know. I have no idea. She messaged that to us 8 minutes ago. I messaged her back and we didn't hear anything. So we will see. She's either running late or something's going on. So I don't know what to tell you. I am.
There's no reason to be embarrassed, Keaton. There's no reason to be embarrassed. You guys do a great show. I brag on Due Dissidence a whole lot. I think y'all. I know y'all are not fans of Kyle Kalinske. I'm not really anymore. But what I liked about Kyle at one time, y'all sort of had that basic message. Kind of a very common sense message that's on point that he used to have that he lost. And some of the others, frankly, used to have. I'm talking about some of the bigger heavyweight people on the online left. They have also kind of lost their way as well. But so you two guys are kind of a reminder, and that's a compliment, by the way, of that. And even better, because y'all don't argue over or pursue the strategy of trying to reform the Democratic Party, because we all learned a lesson that the Democratic Party can't be reformed, and we got to find another way. Maybe with independent politics, maybe taking it to the streets. We don't know. Well, I don't know. But y'all have great guests on the show when they do arrive on the show. And y'all have worthy things to discuss, and y'all expose the hypocrisy of the mainstream liberal establishment who claim to be for the voiceless and stand up for working class when they don't. And I appreciate the work y'all do. And anyway, there's no reason to be embarrassed. Anyway, I'll let y'all go on in a second. My computer, folks. Come on, computer. Sorry about that. Come on. We got a little problem here. I'm sorry about that. In the video, they do explain what happened, and hopefully we'll get some. Isn't that just lovely? You push the button for it play, and it's not playing. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, come on. Okay, maybe I can get this thing to work in a moment. But anyway, suffice to say, in the video, they talk about what possibly could have happened and everything, and so they were embarrassed. I'm
very sorry about that. We had confirmation and everything, and it seems like she's at the least.
Okay. Why is it doing that? Come on. Anyway, hopefully we'll get back to that in a moment. And if not, I'm going to open up a new window. In fact, I'm thinking about doing that right now. So let me just go ahead and do that. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Let me get back to what I was just saying with regard to Due Dissidence. So they had a little bit of a problem, and with Briahna Joy Gray, she was supposed to show up at 8 o'clock, and then what happened was that she didn't show up at 8, and she let them know that she's running a little late, and she wasn't quite ready yet. And in a nutshell, she didn't show up that evening. And I actually was a little hesitant to play this because I don't, I talk about drama a little bit at times, but I was a little hesitant because not that I know them well, but I mean, they know who I am, Keaton and Russell, and I there's no reason for them to be embarrassed, but I understand why they feel that way because I have been ghosted myself in the past, so there is that as well. And waiting for the thing. Give me 2 seconds here. Hopefully we'll get this thing. Let me get this set up here. And again, I do apologize. Okay, I think that should be it. And hopefully we'll have. Oh boy, no, that's not it. Sorry. All right, let me do that again. We'll get that thing set up. I have been ghosted in the past by a commentator when I was a Jackson Hinkle fan a couple of years ago, and the person turned out to be correct, and I was wrong in hindsight. So, but I guess it's not too important, other than she got out of inviting me on the show. So there is that as well, and hopefully we'll get some kind of progress.
I am very sorry about that. We had confirmation and everything, and it seems like she's at the least running quite late. We do have other material that we plan to do.
Look, I still have contacts in the Central Park carriage industry. I hear she's in a carriage with Taibbi.
Yeah. We'll
that's the I got a report. And
you wouldn't want to get in
it does look like Taibbi.
Yeah.
Well, look, there's a first time for everything. It's never happened to us before. Keaton was worried about this happening. I didn't, it's never happened before, and Keaton's always nervous. So I figured, it'll be fine. So, you know what I feel like? I feel like Clint Eastwood at the beginning of Unforgiven when he's trying to live a peaceful life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He signed up for what you call it. He signed up for kayak rafting.
I did. Yeah, I'm gonna be taking, once I'm done with my, see, one leads into the other. Once my swim lessons are done, I start kayak lessons because now I'm not afraid of drowning.
Yeah,
Knock
yeah,
on
yeah.
wood.
There you go.
You know, I needed the swim classes before I could do the kayak classes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, I'm trying.
Well, nice people kayak near the Statue of Liberty, jet skiing,
Yeah.
kayaking, all
No,
that
that's
stuff.
that.
Used to
That's
see
that
them on
company.
the. Yeah. Used to have to hold the ferries for them if they were crossing in front.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you know, Unforgiven. Like at the, Clint Eastwood was trying to set aside his violent ways.
Yeah.
But circumstances just keep conspiring to bring the violent killer he used to be back out in.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. I just had to change the thumbnail in case she does not show up, folks, because we do take seriously. I know people are saying relax. I'm fine. I'm relaxed. I got my nasal spray here. But yeah, no. No, I believe in truth in advertising. That's all. And I don't want to advertise a show that we don't have. So that's all. All right. So we are going to move on now and wrap this up. We still have a Q&A plan for after the show, and we still have a few more segments that we want to do because we come prepared, right?
And they came in prepared, and they had a whole show out there and everything. So and as I said, there was no reason to feel terrible about. They didn't do anything wrong. So and it's a mystery what happened with Briahna Joy Gray. If she did this dismissively or out of disrespect or what have you, that's really fucked up. I mean, it does sour my what I had a positive impression, so kind of soured my impression on her. If that's the case, if it was, losing track of the time, which I know she's kind of well up on the online, the bread tube space, prominent figure and everything. I have been guests on the show, and I don't care how small a platform or how large a platform, how small or how large they are, but if I'm going to be a guest, I will make damn sure I'm going to be I want to make sure I'm going to be there, because you got shared audience in a lot of cases. So there's a lot of Due Dissidence fans that do follow Briahna Joy Gray and vice versa. And to do this would kind of set a bad taste on some people's mouths, as far as the audience who, for whatever reason, they like this content maker and they like the other content maker. Maybe the people who like the content maker more felt like, like it's a Due Dissidence fans who may like Due Dissidence, but, appreciate Briahna Joy Gray, would be like, well, gee, that's kind of fucked up. And they may, she may have some people turn against her because of this. She doesn't need to be doing that. She needs to keep all their allies that she can. And it would be vice versa if they were to do that the other way. But they've been pretty supportive of Briahna Joy Gray on record. I mean, basically, I've never heard anything negative in the past 2 years of getting familiar with Due Dissidence. So I heard of them in the summer 2022. And I've been, remember when they had 2,500 subscribers, and now they're at 62,000. So they come a long way. I wish them the best too. I do. So, but thing about it is, for to have that kind of attitude and to, I just think it's kind of I just think it's kind of fucked up for anybody to do this. And I'm sure that they're not the first, and I'm sure they're not going to be the last. And I, as I said, I've been ghosted in the past, and I hold no ill will toward this person that ghosted me, and she, I won't mention her name, but if I'll put it this way, some of y'all have seen her in the mornings, and she lives in North Carolina. She's not from North Carolina, but she lives in North Carolina, and she's done some good work locally in her area against police brutality and all that. I can't take that away from her. So some of her activism works, but I was supposed to be on her show, and then she decided maybe not, and everything. So, which is fine. I'm over it. But yeah, that's fucked up. It's not a good thing to do to somebody, and and everything. And we're talking about the left. We're talking about the section of the left. What is referred to as the Jimmy Dore gray zone left, what have you. As far as the I'll call them. I like to refer to these people as the forced vote left. And then there's it's not strictly just them that's part of the forced vote left. And there's some people who I say forced to vote left because you realize who the true blue believers were in late 2021 when it came to this thing called Medicare for All and everything. I'm not saying that those who opposed forced to vote were disingenuous, but they were fundamentally wrong. It meant that you're not really taking your activism seriously if you're not willing to support pressuring people like Nancy Pelosi, which Matt Gaetz was willing to do against Kevin McCarthy, and it worked because he kept an eye on the online left, and it's like, well, I think this could work, and he was right, and people like AOC was wrong on that question. So. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that, when it comes to this sort of thing, policy, we're talking about policy. Briahna Joy Gray, I can't take policy away from her, but, I'm very disappointed at what she did in regard to Due Dissidence. They didn't deserve that happening to them. I feel uneasy actually contributing to this drama. I don't know if they even appreciate me bringing this up. I mean, I thought about it. Talked to somebody today. It's like, should I discuss this? But I decided to discuss this, and whatever happens in regard. But I don't believe that they should have to be subjected to this kind of it was. I understand where they felt like that was a slap in the face. It was, dismissive, was disrespectful. And they've been very supportive of the bullshit that she's been going through. They've been supportive of what she's been going through. Shame on her in that regard. That was uncalled for. But on policy, I mean, she's correct from my perspective, about 95% of the things that she has to say. I probably will not do another Briahna Joy Gray video for a while. Try not to. She doesn't make any more news. I've been making too many Briahna Joy Gray videos. And there's other things I need to talk about. So I actually did not want to make this video. So in its entirety. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. And I will. Yes. Also, the thing about it is, policy-wise, Due Dissidence got it together too, and they pretty much ideologically coincide with a lot of her beliefs with each other. Their beliefs sort of coincide with each other. Vaush just wants to turn us all into generic Democrats. Instead of the Democrats listening to the so-called radical left, that he forced the radical left to go along with them. There's just been a lot of that going on, and it's gotten us nowhere. So anyway, I guess that's pretty much it right now. And so I'm going to be taking off too. So if you all like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any way you disagree with what I have to say. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Reject corporate media. Subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show. Remember to free Assange, free Palestine, free healthcare for all, and free speech absolutism. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.